everyone, I wanted to take a couple minutes to talk about your bow. I will be teaching you how to tighten and loosen your bow as well as how to use rosin this week. So please practice tightening and loosening your bow and applying rosin, and then you will be ready to go for our next lesson. Before we start, I want to talk about how to store your bow in your case. Cellos, for you, when you're putting your bow into your cello case, always make sure that the tip of the bow goes in the case first. So your cover or your case holder, your bow holder is going to be on the front of your case. So you want to put your tip in first, and then you're going to slide that bow down into your case. For violins and violas, in your case, down here by this little pocket where your scroll and the neck of your instrument goes, that is where you're always going to put the tip of the bow. And this little pocket is going to protect your tip. The tip is very breakable, that's this part. So you always want to protect it. So you put the tip in first, and then down at the other end you might have a little knob to turn, but that's how you want to put your bow in the violin and viola case. Tip goes in this little protective case down by the scroll and by where you keep your rosin. Let's first talk about the parts of our bow. This is called the stick of the bow, and this is the horsehair of the bow. I always ask that you don't touch the horsehair of the bow if you don't need to. It won't hurt your bow to touch the horsehair, but there's dirts and oils on your hands that if you touch the horsehair, the dirt and oil could get onto the horsehair and make it not play. So if you don't have to touch it, don't touch it. So we have the stick, the horsehair, this is called the tip, and down here we have the frog. And at the bottom of the frog you will see a screw, and the screw is how we are going to tighten and loosen our bow. Anytime you're not using your bow, you want your bow to be loose. And what I mean by that is that the horsehair is relaxed and there is no tension. If I were to squeeze in the middle of my bow right now, I can easily squeeze the stick and the horsehair together. That means the bow is loose, there's no tension, and this is how the bow should be stored in your case when you're not using it. When you are ready to play your instrument, you want to turn the screw to tighten the bow, and when I turn the screw, you will see that there will be some tension here. The stick and the horsehair will start to separate. So as I turn, the space in between the stick and the horsehair starts to grow, and there's now a little bit more tension. If I squeeze in the middle now, I can feel there's more tension and the bow is ready to be played. So I want to explain how we tighten and loosen the screw. If you turn the screw to the right, that is going to tighten the bow. If you turn the screw to the left, that is going to loosen the bow. And I have a little saying, it's called righty-tighty, right and tight rhyme, lefty-loosey. Left and loose have the same letter L. So righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Another way to think of it, if you turn a door handle or sometimes a faucet, if you turn that to the right, that's going to open the door handle, and you wouldn't really turn it to the left, but if you turn to the left, that will loosen. So righty-tighty, that's going to tighten your bow. Lefty-loosey, that's going to loosen. When you're tightening it, it should feel like a natural way to turn it. When you're loosening it, it should feel like you're going backwards. So what I would like you to do, let me loosen my bow. So right now my bow is loose. When I have to tighten it, it depends on your bow. Some of you might need to turn it 10 turns, some people need to turn it 15 or 20 turns. You want to tighten it enough so that your bow is still smiling. And if you can see my bow right now, there's a little bit of arc in my bow. I always want that arc to stay there. As you tighten it though, the arc will get a little less, but it's always still smiling. You always want to keep your bow happy. The other thing that I say is do the sideways pinky test. If you take your pinky finger, and you turn it sideways, it should be able to easily slide in between the stick and the hair of the bow, right in the middle of the bow. I'm not doing it down here or up here, it's right in the middle. So if you can see right now, my bow is not tight enough, or it's not, yeah, I haven't tightened it. It's not tight enough because I would have to cram my pinky in there. Now I can get it in, but I had to cram it. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn my screw to the right, and tighten it. So I'm gonna turn it maybe 6 to 8 turns. Now I can see that my bow is still smiling, but I have a little bit of more space between the stick and my hair. If I turn my pinky sideways, I can easily now slide it in and out. So that's how you know if your bow is tight enough. Also, if you squeeze in the middle, you should feel some tension. So you can do 3 things. You can make sure your bow is still smiling. You can do the sideways pinky test. And if you squeeze in the middle, you'll feel tension. Do those 3 checks, and if you say yes to all of those, then your bow is tight enough. One thing is, you don't want to tighten your bow too much. If I were to sit here and keep tightening, watch what happens to my bow. Please don't try this at home, but I'm going to do it to this one. This is an older bow, so it's okay. If I tighten it, you're going to see the space between the string and the horsehair is going to get very big. And if you see the stick, it's more straight across, and it's even starting to frown a little bit. It's looking sad. If I do my sideways pinky test, look how much extra space I have in there. That is too tight, so please don't tighten your bow that much. If you do your sideways pinky test and you have a lot of extra space, see all my extra space, loosen it up. Turn it to the left and loosen it up. And if you watch, as I loosen, your stick will start to relax a little bit more and it will look more happy. So right there's my sideways pinky test. Don't put it in this way, put it in sideways. And that's how you know if your bow is tight enough. So anytime you're playing, you want your bow to be tight, and anytime you're not playing, you want your bow to be loose. The next thing I want to talk about is rosin. In your case, most of you are going to have a thing of rosin, and they come in all different shapes and all different sizes. Yours might be a little square, it might be round, it might be big like this. The colors also change. Some of them are dark, some of them are light. They're all different. It doesn't matter what kind you have. To use the rosin, you have to take it out of the case. So if you have something like this, make sure you take that off or take the lid off and pull it out of the case. So this is just the box or the case that it comes in. This is the actual rosin. The wood that surrounds it is just the part that holds the rosin. So we put rosin on our bow. It gives it a little sticky texture, and it helps the horsehair stick to your strings of your instrument. So you always want to apply rosin. For beginner players, you want to apply rosin every other time you play. You don't really need to apply it every time you play. Every other time is perfect. If you can see my rosin right now, it's really shiny. If I tried to put this on my bow, it would not work, just because if you touch it, you're not going to feel anything, because this needs to be scratched. Now friends, I'm going to let you scratch your own rosin at home, but please ask a parent or an adult to help you with this, because this can be a little tricky. The best way to scratch it is to use either a pair of scissors, and that's why I want you to use a parent, or you can take a paper clip. If you undo a paper clip so you have the one sharp edge, you want to use something that has a sharp edge that you can scratch it. You're just going to go down a couple stripes, so you're just going to take those scissors and scratch down a couple times. This is something that you only need to do one time, so if you do it today, that's the only time you'll ever need to do it. What happens is you're just getting the rosin a little bit rough, so that when you rub it on the strings, it will start to come off of here and go onto your strings. So if I take my scissors very carefully, and you just take them and you just kind of scratch down, and you'll actually scratch the rosin. You're just going to do a couple stripes down. You could go maybe sideways, just about like that. And if you can see, I haven't scratched it a ton, but you just want to scratch a little bit to kind of get that rough. And if you feel it now and then rub your fingers together, you're going to feel it's sticky, and that's what you want. That's the rosin. So then to apply rosin onto your bow, I would tighten your bow first, and mine is still tight. Then you're going to hold it at the bottom down by the frog. This is called the frog. And you are just going to rub the rosin back and forth. Before I put rosin on, this bow actually doesn't have any rosin, and I want you to see what it sounds like if your bow doesn't have rosin. So with a bow that doesn't have rosin on it, it's not making any noise. And the reason, this is a brand new bow, there's never been any rosin put on it. So that rosin is also going to make sound come out of your bow when you rub it on the strings. So if you've been playing your bow and it's not creating any noise, chances are the bow's not broken, but you just need some rosin on it, and you probably need a really good dose of rosin. So for this bow, because it's never had rosin on it before, I'm gonna spend a little bit of time, and I'm just rubbing it back and forth and slowly working my way to the top of the bow. And then I'm gonna go back and forth. For if your bow has rosin on it and you're just reapplying, you maybe need to do this once or twice, kind of up, back, and then you'll be good. But like I said, this bow is brand new. It's never had any rosin on it, so I'm putting a pretty good dose of rosin on it. Let's try again and see if now we can get some sound. Starting to get there, but I still need to put some rosin on it. So if that's the case with you, just spend some time rubbing the rosin on. If you need help with that, if you come to class and say, Mrs. Mertz, I can't get it to make any sounds, I will help you with that. I have more expensive rosin that I can put on it to give it that first coat that it needs. This bow, like a brand new bow, if you just purchased your instrument, it might need a lot of rosin. So that's about rosin, and then anytime you're done with your rosin, friends, just make sure you put it back in the case and put it back in your case, your violin, viola, or cello case. That's really important so you don't lose it. If you lose your rosin, let me know. I have lots of extras. Rosin is not super expensive, so if it breaks or if you lose it, just let me know. I have a lot of extra. Or if you don't have any rosin, please let me know. The last thing I want to talk about is how to loosen your bow. Anytime you're done playing your instrument, you want to loosen that bow, let the bow relax, and make it loose before you put it in the case. So I turn my screw to the left, and you want to turn it enough so that the hair and the stick are almost touching. When they get to be really close, like if you see I can't even put my pinky in there, that's loose enough. When you squeeze in the middle, there's going to be little to no tension. Now, just like we can go too tight with tightening our bow, friends, we can also go too loose. I'm going to continue to loosen mine. Please also do not try this at home. This is you don't want this to happen because this could really hurt your bow and you'd have to take it to the music store to get it fixed. If you continue to loosen, you're going to see the hairs start to separate from each other. And if you can see mine, see how the hairs are super duper loose. If that starts to happen, stop turning the screw and go the other direction. Chances are you're going the wrong direction. So this is way too loose, and if you continue to go, the screw can actually come away from the stick, and then this horsehair can get all twisted. And if that happens, it's really hard to get it untwisted. You will also see that the screw has started to separate from the stick or the bow. You can see that. We don't want that to happen. So if you see this screw starting to separate and the hairs are really loose, stop turning and go the other way. Now I'm going to tighten it, and you're going to see these hairs are going to just tighten right back up. Right there. See how they're back together? And then if you look at my screw, it's back touching my stick. So when you're loosening it, you just want to get to this point where the hairs are still together and the tension between the stick and the hair is really loose. Once you get there, that's good enough. You don't have to keep loosening. So I hope that was helpful. If you have questions, we're going to quickly review this at the next lesson, but hopefully you can practice it this week and it will save a lot of time in our next lesson, and you'll be able to get your bows out and tighten them, and then we'll be able to start using them. So have a great rest of your day, and I will see you at the next lesson.